Hi folks, welcome to game 2 of the Warhammer Resurrection tournament that I went to. I don't think I said in the last one, but this is a 2,250 point battle report, and this time I'm up against some Chaos. So, starting on my opponent's left flank, he's got a unit of Furies, and he's then got 2 units of Chaos Warriors on foot, and I believe the ones that have halberds are chosen. Behind them they've got a Chaos Sorcerer, and then he's got a Chaos Lord, Exalted Lord, or whatever it is, on a demonic mount. Behind that, a chariot and some beastmen in the trees. And over towards the centre, he's got some Chaos Knights, another Sorcerer, and these are Chaos Ogres in heavy armour, and I think Great Weapon. Yeah, I think they went Great Weapon. So what they're armed with. And then on the far my left hand side, he's got all his dogs. So he basically just put them over there as drops to see what I'm doing. Other than that, they're kind of out of the way and out of position to do much, especially with their low leadership. But this is a tactic he's just trying out. And as for me, I've just gone for my standard ancient style setup. So I have almost skirmishers up front, big blocks of sources to the centre, anything faster on the flanks. This is toward the middle of the table. My Saurus hero has joined the front unit of Skinks just to give him some extra leadership. My general is in the middle block of Saurus. That's why it seems like there's an extra Saurus in there. And on the far left, I've just got another unit of Skinks. I'm pretty sure those Skinks by themselves could probably handle the dogs. If not, I can always send my Stegodon over there just to chase them off. Behind the rock is my priest, Skink priest, and my other one was actually behind the tents, just out of shot on the last picture. So my opponent moves up, I give him the first turn, then I go next. I believe these guys have just been moved up here. I'll basically stand and shoot with those dogs. There's a good chance I can cause them to flee with only leadership 5, so I wasn't too worried about that. Other than that, I think my Skinks have a good chance of beating them in combat with their low amount of attacks and my 5-up save. So, we'll see how that goes. And this is just my opponent's centre moving up, as you can see. These trolls are really nice. Ogres are really nice, but they are trolls, and I think they're from like a... honestly not Lord of the Rings trolls, 172 scale plastics. I think they're called Last Alliance. I haven't seen them for a while. They've been awkward to get hold of, but some of the models are quite nice. His Furies move up in front of his line, probably ready to chase off my Skinks. Pushed up behind with the Chaos Warriors. And at the very back on the left hand side is his chariot just coming up to support. I mean, chariots struggle by themselves into big units, but if you can get a combined charge with the unit and a chariot, that's where they work nicely. My opponent's leader comes up, and there's not a lot I can do about this guy. He is pretty tough, being a Chaos Lord. So I did go for a bit of a bait action here with my Croc Scores and Skinks. If I could get him to charge my Croc Scores, I thought the Croc Scores could kill off his mount, and then he would no longer cause fear, in which case I can probably beat him in combat and then run him down. Which is a great plan. I just need him to charge my Croc Scores. Problem is, if he's one of these beastie Chaos Warrior leaders that have like something like the Berserk Sword that does D3 wounds, they could do some serious damage to my Crocs. So what I did is actually got my general to join my Crocs to call him out in a challenge. I have a feeling that this mission here was something like a Carnage mission, where it's, it's a kill points one. It's not an objective based one. So in my turn, all I did, I actually charged my Saurus hero out into the Furies, considering he's got magical weapon, which means I don't think they get their ward save. Plenty of attacks. I think on the charge he's got 5 attacks. He's got the Blessing of Sotek, I think. He should be able to mince these guys up and then blast in behind and get behind his lines and start chasing his wizard. I'll even give it a go at charging the chariot, just because he's so resilient, and with his high strength should do some wounds on that chariot. Elsewhere, the rest of my lines are pretty standard and don't move about too much. My jungle swarms stay in the centre just to see what I can annoy and charge in an awkward situation. But as you can see here, I have my Skinks up who threw some javelins at his leader to try and knock some wounds off the mount. They'll flee, and I've got my crockies behind, and as you can see, I've got my general now joined them. I think this was either a stand and shoot or I just shot at them after my move and did enough casualties for them to flee and went straight off the table. So yeah, and essentially I think he got my skinks and then redirected, or my skinks fled and he redirected into my crocs. And yeah, that's what I wanted for on the other side. And again, I think he's charged on the other side into my skinks. Again, they fled, and that's now left a counter charge with both my Saurus and my Stegodon into his trolls. Yeah, so in my centre, charged my skinks, they fled. Now I have my counter for both my main unit and my Stegodon there to charge those trolls. And also I could do some stuff with my swarms as well, because they've got their vision around them. At the top side there, I've just moved my skinks along to just do some march blocking, but also throw a few javelins at his sorter, which he's left out by himself. So yeah, this is where I went into the challenge and was relying on my high strength and attacks here to do quite well. I'd say this guy's equipped the great weapon and the venom of the firefly frog to give him magic and poison attacks at strength 7, and I think he's 5 attacks basic, 6 on the charge, so he is quite brutal. Anyway, yeah, that took him out of the fight for then, and all I was going to do is put the wounds onto the beastie, because if I kill off the beastie, it'll give me the wounds to win the combat, and then he'll no longer be causing fear and should be outnumbered by fear causing enemy and auto break. As you see, he's brought up his Chaos Warriors in behind to support. So unfortunately, as much as I tried, I did beat him in combat, but my unit failed to run him down, and he escaped there, as you can see. And my Crocs and my General, who's looks like he's taken a wound because he's got a little red dice next to him, is now going into the Chaos Warriors. But meanwhile, on the other side, my very quick attack went to go into the Furies failed miserably, forgetting about the instability rule. He actually managed to roll really low on his leadership, and so just stood there. And I think that's now been for like 2 or 3 combats. So my quick breakthrough idea never really occurred with him, as he's now busy fighting the Furies. And then in my turn, I managed to counterattack into the flank with my swarms, which is always good. And at the top there, you can see I've gone into the Chaos Ogres, and I have both my Chaos Warriors and my Stegodon all charging in, and that should do a lovely amount of damage. Other than that, both units of my skinks rallied, as I've got my general nearby, and being cold-blooded also helps. And I know I haven't said much about magic, but I'll only really mention it if it's done me very well. Normally I'm casting Second Sign just for a few extra wounds in combat, or maybe a reroll on a leadership dice, that kind of thing. And then whatever else they've got, I'll just try and pick on whatever I can. In the combat, his opponent issued a challenge, which I accepted, and then proceeded to blast him into a little metal and bloody pulp, as my multiple strength 7 attacks did him in. And yeah, once again, I rolled miserably for my Croc scores to give chase, but thankfully I also turned the swarms in, and they had run them down when I had broken them. And as you see in the middle, the combined charge of the Saurus and the Stegodon managed to beat the Ogres, but I did take a few casualties, that's for sure. Many thanks to the rank bonuses of my unit and the sheer impact of my Stegodon really did me well there. And Stegodon overran and caught them. Of course, as everything else, my Saurus held back. Nothing else happened on this side. He charged my Stegodon then with his mounted Chaos Warriors. They could be chosen. I can't quite remember. Most people seem to have them as chosen. And I either fled and was caught, or if he charged his sorcerer in as well, I'd have probably stayed. Looking at it, I think he charged everything into them. So it was a lose-lose anyway, so I had fled. And they ended up, as you can see there, so at least I have a counter charge with my own warriors. And on the other side, he's charged in there with his warhounds, and I held. I've got number. He's only got 3 attacks, and I've got a good chance of having enough attacks back. I can win that combat. And if you can see on the cliff there, there's that little marker with the target on, which probably means that during this game I had Comet of Cassandora somewhere. On the other side, yes, his general rallies, which was rather annoying, and as you can see, my hero Saurus is still fighting through those poxy furies. I honestly can't remember. I think one, I was fluffing my attacks and not actually doing that much damage to him, and secondary, he was passing his leadership check not to be poofed and stayed. So I don't know what these things are, leadership 5 or something. But if they pass, they pass. There's no downer to them. They become, pretty much unbreakable. So yeah, that was annoying. So with his general just standing there in front of his unit as well, I thought I may as well have another go, see if I can beat him in combat, overrun into his unit again, and have another battle that way. So in I go, and of course a challenge was issued. And at the top, I charged my, what they're called, the jungle swarms into the back of his chariot, and I believe that he fled and ended up, as you can see there, this is obviously my opponent's next turn. My turn, I charged with my warriors into his knights, and hadn't taken a casualty by the looks of things, and beat his knights, which then caused his beastmen to panic. And here my skinks are handling another batch of dogs. I think they got rid of 2 lots of dogs, and this is going to be the third one they're now scrapping with. I think I'll have to convert some sort of skink chieftain now with like a chaos hound headgear that these guys have done me so proud on this flank. With the help of the Saurus hero that also came out of the combat with the Furies, he also charged into the combat with the Chaos Warriors. With the overrun from killing off his leader, I broke the unit and smashed that down too. So that is everyone gone on this flank. I just screened my flank then with my swarms, and I say my big units of Saurus are pretty unscathed and quite happy so far. His wizard out there by himself is struggling to find somewhere safe to hide, as my little skink javelin are chasing him down. There's not much else I can do. I think he rallies with his beastmen now, but they're a bit out of position to do anything. So my opponent's turn, he charges in with both his chariot and the doggos, and as you can see, my brave skink warriors have defeated the other doggos. If you just charged in with the chariot, I mean, yeah, you wouldn't have broken my jungle swarms and you'd only do the damage that you do, but my jungle swarms are unable to hurt the chariot from, because it's not a thing that can be affected by poison. I think it's toughness 5, and my guys are only strength 2, so they can't actually hurt it, they can just hold it there. But by doing this, he's given me loads of ways I can wound the dogs to help towards the combat resolution. As we come to the end of the game, it didn't go as well as I hoped there, and I didn't actually manage to get through the dogs. I killed off the dogs, but wasn't enough to beat the dude in combat with all his impact hits, so he's held there, and I don't really have access to him with my warriors, which is annoying. And I give it a go and charge my skinks into his wizard. It's just worth it if I can beat it in combat. And yeah, that's how it looked. Everything else is turned towards the centre, and he's hiding everything else now in the wood to try and escape any repercussions. And he does actually manage to charge my croc scores, which I didn't really expect him to do. I don't think he actually did this. I think it was a bit of fun afterwards. We just said he could do it just so we can see what occurs. But I think that was the game. No, I think he did charge him in because he wanted one more challenge with his leader in that. But yet they were beaten up by the croc scores and my general. And everything else stays as you see it. The wizard at the top managed to hang in there, and my swarm stayed where it was with the chariot. And that was the end of the game. And I think I collected the extra models down in the bottom right hand side here, because depending on how many duels you won, challenges, it might have affected the points as well. So yeah, most of my army bar my unit skinks, I think, and my stegodon is pretty unscathed. So that was Battle Report 2, and that ended up being another good victory for me. I think the last 2 were high scoring victories. So yeah, 2 victories down, 3 more games to go, 1 more for today. And so far I seem to be able to upload these videos, so fingers crossed I will actually have all these up before the next Resurrection tournament, which is in about a month's time. And I'll see you on the next one. Alright guys, farewellis.